Hey, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on our virtual town hall tonight to take a look at our possible upgrades to our Mineola High School Band Hall. I appreciate Mr. Brandon being with us via Zoom tonight, and I've asked Mr. Brandon to share some of the highlights of the band program since he has become our director here and has arguably built one of the most premier band programs in the state of Texas. And so we're thankful for Mr. Brandon, thankful for his leadership and the team that he works with, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brandon at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Myers, for allowing me this opportunity. I would love to speak on behalf of this wonderful program here at Mineola. And I would like also to thank everybody that's tuned in tonight to support these kids and the possibility of some awesome upgrades to our facilities at Mineola High School. So thank you for that. Thank you also to the school board for having this town hall meeting tonight to get input from the community and about this project. So let me just start off with saying that I love it here at Mineola. When I got here, I was first impressed with the kids, how great they were. To be honest, the facilities didn't match what I saw in these kids and their potential. And these kids have done some awesome, incredible work over the last 7 years that I've been here to build up this state level program. And they've achieved so many honors with 2 state championships, concert band championship. They're the only band in the state of Texas in any classification to currently hold state championships in marching and in concert and be named as the Sutler Shield Award, which is a national award. And there's only 2 of those given for the entire nation. And we took home the small school honor for that. So these kids are incredible. They've done so much great work, and the facilities, they're okay, but they're not okay for our kids. So I would venture to say that we need to make some improvements. And let me talk about numbers. When I got here, the entire band program sat around 170. That's 6 through 12. We've doubled our numbers at the 6th grade level and the 7th grade level, and tripled them at the 8th grade level. Our high school band went from the 60s to projected to 115 this year, but we'll see what happens with everything that's going on. But the facility that we're currently in was built in the 70s when bands were smaller and bands didn't have all the equipment that you see on Friday night. When you pull out the front ensemble, which includes 3 large marimbas, 2 vibraphones, bells, all kinds of accessories, that takes up half of our facility. So we've definitely outgrown our facilities, and we've tried to use other areas with the portable building that you see outside of the high school band hall. We use that building. We're glad to have it. It's not the best thing for our kids, but it is good usable space. We also use the area behind the stage, which is, we call it the green room, but it's actually the old shower. So we put kids in there. There's still a drain. But anyway, we practice in there in that small area, and then we spread out from there during marching season to accommodate what we need to do with our students. So the facility, it's great acoustically. It sounds great in the band hall, just doesn't have the space to accommodate our kids, especially in marching season. Now onto the good things about our kids. These kids that come into the Mineola program had the opportunities, and I wanted to share this with everybody because we talk about band, we see the band on Friday nights, but band doesn't stop there. We continue with all kinds of competitions, region, solo and ensemble, UIL concert band. And these kids that stay with us and do this program to their senior year have great opportunities for college. We try to stress to our kids to find a career, not just get a job, but find a career that you love, so you get paid to go to work. And many of our kids go on to college and use band as the vehicle to get them there. We just sent a kid to Commerce who received $35,000 in scholarships. We got several kids at TJC that have more than half of their college paid for, if not all of it, for just being in the band program. Just participating, they can get those scholarships. They don't have to be the world's greatest player. They don't have to be an all-stater. They can just audition and get a lot of money for scholarships to continue their education. And we got kids at SFA, some going into the music education field, but most of our students that use this money are not music majors. They're going into nursing. They're going into business. They're going into the teaching field. So this is a great avenue for our kids here at Mineola that may not have the resources that a lot of students have at bigger bigger towns, more affluent towns that have the possibility to send those kids, we can get those kids to college. So I'm really, really proud that we've been able to do that for so many of our kids over the last 7 years. So that's incredibly awesome for our kids. Just looking at my notes real quick, I want to make sure I touch on a few things. Once again, thank you for this opportunity tonight. I want to thank our students. They've been awesome, and we keep moving forward, and we're looking forward to another great year this year. Our directors here at Mineola have done a fabulous job. I appreciate Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Brannon, Austin Brannon, and Ms. Chitty for all the great work they've done, and Carrie Gonzalez for our great work with the color guard as well. So thank you for this opportunity tonight. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to help you out. Turn it back over to you, Mr. Mize.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. I appreciate that. At this time, we're very thankful to have Perry Thompson and Wes McClure that have joined us tonight to be able to show the presentation. They've done a really great job of giving us several options to consider and to think about when it comes to possible upgrades for the band hall. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Perry and Wes and allow them to share their screen so you can get a visual of possibly some of the options that we may look at as we think about updating the band hall. So Perry, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Great, thank you, and thank the board for allowing us to present this to you tonight, as well as the Mineola public. We're extremely pleased to be working with Mineola ISD. I have to say, I was extremely impressed with Mr. Brown or Chris's work that he's done with the band. The first thing that we recognized when we walked in the door was, oh my gosh, you don't have enough room for the trophies. So that was pretty impressive, very impressive for us. And we've worked with a lot of school districts, a lot of bands, but this is a great opportunity for us. One of the things, as you well know, that you challenged us with was you had some available space that was being used for storage. You thought that there was possibilities of expanding into those spaces, as well as the portable building that's out there, which is a good portable building, but it is, a portable. It is something that is not a long-term solution, in our opinion. So we've looked at that. We've also looked at retrofitting existing spaces. Another issue that was brought to our attention is the restroom facilities not having adequate facilities for the number of students that you have, not to mention the square footage of space in the band hall that is readily available for you. So Wes at Sherrill Construction came over, we sat down and we started looking through what you had and what's available. One of the things I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a screen with you. Actually, I'm going to share several screens, but first of all, I want to share this particular screen that shows the Google Earth image of the facilities that you have, and in particular, the band hall and surrounding classroom areas. If you can see my cursor, there's a portable building that is here. You have parking along the front of the building. You also have parking along the front of the elementary school. And so several of the options, let me see if I can zoom this in. Several of the options that we looked at was behind the stage area. There's some storage that's currently being used as storage. It was originally had a few small bathrooms in it. It's certainly something that had some showers in it as well. The showers have been removed, but the space is still there. Square footage is there. The existing band hall is in great shape. No problems there. It's dated, but it's still serving its purpose. It's just busting at the seams. So we looked at possibility of reusing some of the space in the existing band hall. Then we took a look at traffic patterns with the children, with the vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, and also the kids, how they come, how they drop things off. We talked about several opportunities and several options. One of the options that we looked at, discussed, is the big open field that's just to the east of the existing entry drive. We felt like that was a pretty good option for a couple of items, a couple of ideas that came across our head, which was, do we provide a new facility in that location, completely scrap the existing band hall? Budget plays a big part, as you well know, in all of this. So we're trying to maximize the square footage, if you will, and minimize the budget as we always try to do. But grading takes place in that area is somewhat lower, about 4 or 5 feet lower than the existing finished floor, and questions about, well, how do we do ADA ramps? How do we take care of staircases? How do we address all those issues? And is that really a good solution? It's a good solution, but it's a lot of money, and it's a long-term solution that might possibly create issues at a later date. So with all of that information, I'm going to go ahead and show another screen that's going to give you a little bit better idea about let me see if I can share this with you right quick. Here we are, a new share, and okay. So Cody, can you see the site plan? Want to make sure everybody can see what we're doing. Okay, yeah. Great. Okay, so one of the, as we discussed, some of the interior remodel that could possibly take place is in the area right behind the stage. That has some very, very nice possibilities. It has some opportunity to share that with fine arts. It has some opportunity to use as overflow. And it's already a facility that cost per square foot construction would be significantly less than new construction. So that was one of the ideas that we looked at. I'll show you a floor plan of that here shortly. Another thing that we discussed was the cosmetic upgrades to the existing band hall. It is dated. It is, you don't have enough square footage. Cannot operate 2 bands in that facility, which, as you know, that would help Chris greatly by being able to have a symphonic band, marching band, several different smaller ensemble groups. So there were some constraints that came along with just cosmetically upgrading that facility. We can't add square footage in there in that existing space without taking away from the overall band hall. So that was a concern. So we looked at, in order to keep the same grade elevation, finished floor elevation, if you will, the most opportune location would be just to the east of the existing manhole. We did look south of the existing manhole, but the contours drop off significantly towards the area of the existing gymnasium. So having looked at that, we put a couple of ideas together and proposed some things. One of the other issues that we discussed was the traffic count, the traffic flow in and through the facility. We looked at the possibility of bringing a completely separate drive entry off of the main street. And a couple of problems occurred with that. One, the drainage area that's on the east side of this particular open field narrows down as you get closer to the south and closer to the entry drive of the existing entry. That created a lot of issues with traffic inflow and ingress and egress. So we took a look at how could we possibly separate some of this traffic and still maintain the integrity of the site. So one, and again, this is one concept. We're just basically putting this out for the public to take a look at, give feedback, give information. But one would be an entry drive that would be proposed that would come into the existing elementary, could circle through and come back out and exit the way it normally has been exiting. One other thought was that we would put removable bollards at several locations that would allow, keep traffic, if you will, from turning in. We could put removable bollards at this location and removable bollards here as well as here. Those could be for events. You could remove the bollards if you needed the entire parking. If you had emergency egress that you needed to bring in something, those could be removed. But again, they would be lockable bollards that the general public could not do that. Then moving on to the floor plan, let's take a look at the actual floor plan areas. One of the things that we first started looking at was how can we rearrange the area behind the stage and turn it into something that is usable by fine arts as well as by the band for smaller ensemble groups or even vignettes. So Chris was very instrumental in helping us lay this particular layout, put this layout together. He had in mind, that this would be used for fine arts for costume staging and preparation for plays and theatrical events that would occur. So if you take a look, we've added a laundry room. We've provided 2 facilities for the women with overhead clothes, racks, and bench seating, and then an ADA. All this will be ADA compatible. We also added a long vanity for makeup mirrors. We added a costume closet. We added a large practice room. Then we, and again, this could come in from the exterior. This is currently a covered walkway. And by the way, we did look at bringing access across. Problem is the traffic flow and required egress from the existing facilities would limit us if we were to stop traffic from flowing through in an east to west direction. So the men's restroom, again, a urinal and a toilet, but then would have bench seating and the ante, and would still remain open into the stage area. Then we looked at several options here as far as a facelift in the main band hall. For the most part, we're looking at the possibilities of painting, upgrading the restrooms, turning the restrooms into an ADA compatible restroom, doing some minor renovations in this area. But one of the things that we wanted to address was the transition between the existing band hall and the new band hall. We felt like with as many trophies as has been presented, it needed a common entry from the main walkway in the rear. We installed a trophy case, thought that would be very nice, attractive. And because of the volume of air between these 2 facilities, both bands could operate at the same time. In the new entry, you would come in, you would turn to the left to the new band hall area, and we put some seating together. We've also indicated some instrument storage across the back of the facility, as well as instrument storage in a smaller practice room to the side. Currently, we show 2 offices here. There has been discussion about making one of these a smaller practice room as well. So all in all, this is an existing walkway that comes from the elementary school and from the parking area. We would extend that walkway over, and then we would have a secondary form of egress. One thing that we discussed is that the band practices obviously on the practice fields, on the football field. We wanted to be able to provide a secondary location that was close to this particular facility. So we've essentially made a half football field size parking area that could be utilized for marching, could be striped for marching, can be used. It's immediately adjacent to the proposed band hall. No need to transport all of the instruments back and forth. And as we started thinking about that, we worried about instrument storage and instrument, the ability to move the instruments. So this particular door allows us to bring a van up to the outside, load, but that's really not the best location. It's one location, but we have a great opportunity at the front entry, which is an existing drive with removable bollards. We have a great opportunity to bring a porch out front, provide meeting and greeting space, with bollards, but remove the bollards, back the van up, and load them through a double door, which would be the front entry door, which would be at this location. So having said all that, I'm going to now share with you a little bit of a, let's see if I can make this happen. Let's see here. want to share with you a little bit of an idea that we put together as far as a perspective. And did you see that, Cody? Well, actually,
Yes, sir. We're good. Uh-huh.
is it on us? Oh, okay. Okay, so it is. So one of the things that we talked about, there's a side view from the parking, existing parking. New parking would be the darker parking on the side. The walkway, that would be the addition, and you can see essentially where it extends at this point. Not much of an addition on the walkway. It would single slope to the rear and catching downspouts and going around. The existing band hall is a little taller than the new band hall is. And one of the reasons we did that was because we wanted to have a undulation or a little bit better opportunity to bring the scale down to match the overall scale of the front. We didn't feel like walking straight into this large facility. It needed some type of front entry. Here's the interior. It kind of gets kind of quick here, but that'll give you a quick view. And then I'll take you through it a little slower here in a minute, but that's pretty quick run through. Now let's look at one. Okay. So now, can you see this facility now? What we're looking for is the opportunity to match scale with all the facilities. We also matched some of the exterior, or mimic some of the exterior elements of the existing facility. Tried to keep that in mind as we were putting together exterior perspectives and elevations. But it gives the opportunity for the band and fine arts, for that matter, to have an area out front that would be usable and again still remain a space that could be utilized for moving the band equipment and so on and so forth. As you go in, let's turn around here and look back, as this thing is a little bit faster on the three-dimensional picture. But what we wanted to do here was create a size band facility that mimics exactly what you have, but in the opposite direction. It would be facing south, whereas your existing facility faces the conductor stands in the north. So, Wes, I'll let you talk a little bit and kind of explain where we are, what we've discussed, and what we've thought about. You want to share your ideas on where we are so far?
Yeah, I think it's been, given the challenges that we've had, it's really been a pleasure to work with Chris and Carrie here, looking at adapting and reusing space inside the existing facility, and where the new facility is separated from the existing facility, the way that can be utilized at the same time. The acoustics and the new parking lot. One of the things about the new parking lot, we talked a lot about flow, because we've expanded this building out and we've actually encroached upon the existing flow. So one of the challenges was to try to get the flow and improve the flow of traffic at the elementary school, as well as try to solve possibly some underlying parking problems. So I think the parking lot would be has a great multi-purpose aspect to it. It really will allow the students to be a lot closer to their facilities. The greeting area here in the front with the ballers will allow that area to multi-purpose and weather, get everybody out of the weather when it comes to loading and unloading and assembly. So I think the spaces work well, and I think that was the challenge before us, is how do we use these existing facilities to the maximum, and try to add on what we need to serve that purpose. And I've enjoyed the interaction with Chris, we've had several interactions. So this is a great thing to do with my office.
You might speak a little bit. One thing that we're able to do in this particular layout is leave the existing portable in place. We're able to utilize that as storage while we're under construction for the new facility. So that certainly helps. One of the problems with moving to working to the south was that we obviously had some great challenges to deal with, but the other issue was the existing portable was essentially going to be in the way. I think that, and I can show you a real quick look here. Let me grab a view and go ahead, and I can show you from the top down. I think I can. Let me see if I can get the top down. Bird's eye view here. Okay. So let's see if I can show you this. Let's see if it will. There it is. Screen sharing. Let's see if it'll let me. Okay. There we go. One of the things that we have, let's say the project, that's one thing that we did. The existing building has a low slope roof, and so our design concept was to add a parapet wall around this facility in order to capture the water, bring it through downspouts, and then drain it out. Notice that we have a little bit of drainage that runs across that parking lot, existing lots now. So we want to be able to capture that and some drain, in-ground drains, and carry that across the underside of that existing or the proposed parking lot, and that'll help some of the drainage that's in that area. So I guess that's a quick overview, Cody, and I can turn it back over to you.
Perry, Wes, thank you guys very much. And at this time, we're going to open the floor for any questions that anybody may have about the proposal, kind of what you've seen, thoughts, feedback. Feel free to share that. I've seen some things in the chat on our Zoom, and we appreciate those comments. But are there any questions that we can answer for you? And we'll look at the chat on Facebook Live as well, and Perry and Wes would be glad to answer any of those for you.
I missed the first few minutes of the call, Mr. Mize. What is like our time frame on getting this project started and finished?
Yeah, so great question. So that's kind of where we are as big picture overview right now, just kind of getting some ideas and different options. I'll start from a financial side and kind of give you an overview of where we are as a school district. So based on conservative budgeting over the years, our school district has about $7.5 million in fund balance right now. And so we know we've got, these are challenging economic times right now. We know our legislative session is going to meet again in January, and there's going to be probably some tough times ahead a little bit for the state budget. And so we need to make sure that we keep a healthy fund balance there. We talked about this in our last board meeting, possibly being able to designate $2.5 to $3 million towards a project, and having a broad overview of maybe that being dedicated towards expenditures for projects. And so it's going to be based off what the board thinks as far as options, what they would like to do there. And then it would be on the construction end to figure out when that would be moving forward. So we'll rely upon our leadership from our board president to kind of give us some timeline and what they would be thinking. And Dr. Abbott and I will visit, and we can organize some of that and possibly consider some action items or action steps in the August board meeting. Perry, do y'all want to talk on a construction end? Just, you started the project 2 months from now. What would that look like on finishing something of this size? What would that look like finishing up time-wise?
Of course, Cody, we talked a little bit about how during the school year we would need to do some careful phasing, what with the existing flow of traffic to the elementary school, and we would want to stage in the parking lot. So obviously the optimum time for construction is always, when we don't have operations in place. But I think should it go during the school year, we're probably looking at a 7 to 8 months duration, and that's after we get through the design phase. So, I don't know, Perry, where do you think we're at on a conservative design phase?
Conservative design phase, we're probably close to 4 to 5 weeks in architectural, structural, MEP, civil. After we get our topographical survey work done and our geotesting. So I would say month and a half, 2 months on the front end of that. So the sooner we can get started on that, obviously we can, if we can get some of those released now, such as geotesting, which is extremely important, it's going to take them, a week and a half or so to get the report information after they drill. So the structural engineering really can't do much until after that occurs. Once that occurs, then it falls into place pretty quick. But as Wes said, the possibility is there to provide that external drive, the drive that's on the south and east side. We could install that relatively quickly, and that would facilitate opening up the area in which we really need to work. And we could obviously construction fence all of that off and keep that be a safety issue. Really want to make sure we take care of that. Provide paths of travel for the students and faculty, and make sure that we're not impeding flow. So noise level might be an issue there. So we'll have to work with the district and work with Chris to try to limit our noise levels during testing times, and just like we do with all the other schools, and during weekends and evening activities if we can.
So I think just to kind of circle back around on that question as a whole, we're probably looking at a month and a half in design phase.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have another almost month in pre-construction phase, bid solicitations, and approval of final guaranteed maximum price.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we've probably got conservatively 7 to 8 months in construction. So all in all, probably 10 months in design and construction.
The whole minor.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions, comments, thoughts?
Question.
Go for it.
Have you, as the superintendent, Mr. Mize, been able to gauge just how receptive the school board is to this proposal?
Yeah, I think very receptive. I think that's they pushed to see a proposal, to see what this looks like visually, and to be presented several options for consideration. And so I think this is something that they are definitely interested in looking at, and of course, being a good steward of our fund balance, but also realizing the fact that we do have facility needs. And if you've been in the portable building that's out there for our students to be in, it's not a good setup at all. And so I think they'd be very receptive to it.
I'm delighted to hear that, because this program has been a tremendous benefit to this community, and it's critically important that we keep the core leadership team that we have in this band program together so that we can move this program forward. And I think facilities is definitely hindering that progress. So I'm glad that the board is receptive, and I'm very appreciative that you have gathered us here to pursue this, because I think it is long overdue. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. See some questions online. Eric has asked, if we're trying to increase the area for the band to be in, why are we building another room that appears to be the same square footage instead of opening up the existing band hall, for example, concert band season? Mr. Brandon, do you want to talk a little bit about that and some of those thoughts that we had there? You guys, Perry, Wes, would y'all like to address that one?
I sure can. Yes. With our program and the numbers that we have, we are moving toward the need to create 2 concert bands. So when we get to the spring concert season, after marching season, in the fall, we're all together, and we barely fit in the band hall that we have. So, but we do most of our work outside. In the springtime, we split. and we'd like to have two bands, a varsity band and a non-varsity band, both that go to UIL. That's what a lot of schools, most 3As are doing. They split in concert season. Let me give you an example. So like White Oak High School, our neighbor up the road, in concert season, they have two bands. So when they go to UIL, they put about 50 kids in one band and 50 kids in the other, and they take both groups to contests. So it's more opportunities for our kids to play different music and match their ability levels. We have to put all of our kids together because we don't have a second area, and it's hard to program for that diverse of a group. It's also hard to get a band like that on a stage. We had to hold the contest at UIL this year because we wouldn't fit on the stage at White Oak High School, who hosted the UIL contest. So we would use that second area. I would like the second area to be bigger than the first, obviously. So in marching season, we can use the new, nice, bigger room when we do all come inside. And then in the spring and concert season, we would split up and use both areas. Plus, in the fall, we can split up and do sectional work. We can have a room for our jazz band. Our percussion section is awesome, and they're very large. And Mr. Brandon, Austin Brandon, does a great job with that group. So we'd have an area for them to go into and spread out and do good work as well. So that's the philosophy. And most programs our size, 3A, and all the way up through 6A, have a second rehearsal area, a first and a second area.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Eric, thank you for that question. Heather asked, is this something the board solely votes on? Yes, they would vote on this. They could look at the various options and vote on some of the options, all of it. That would be a board decision on that. Mr. Brown asked, what is the projected cost? So Wes, could you give us kind of a general overview, kind of ballpark figure, and then obviously, depending on what phases would be decided, obviously that would impact price as well. So, Wes, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, sir. We did a study basically on the different elements that we had. Of course, we had existing band hall. We were going to do some cosmetic upgrades, probably floor, ceilings, and walls, things of that nature. We had the new addition, and we had the renovation of the existing band hall. We also did some preliminary studies with the contours and the grades in the proposed parking area to the east, and assigned some conservative budgets and contingencies to all these different types of construction. And the overall program right now, we feel is going to be on the order of $1.75 million.
Any other questions, thoughts, suggestions? I want to add one thing about the parking. And, when I first got here in January as superintendent, there was a talent show that was held on the elementary campus. And I remember going over to the event, and the parking, if you guys, I know a lot of this is geared towards high school and our band program and fine arts, but just the parking in general, when you come to an evening event at our elementary campus, it's a madhouse. And parents park all the way down to the bottom of Patton Street. It's a long walk. It's not guest friendly. So this would be a major upgrade in that area, not only for our band students, people coming to competitions or different things that may be happening in the high school, but also our elementary school as well to service some of those events. And Wes, total parking space, how many additional parking spots was that we would create?
Hold on just a minute, Cody. We'll get to that point.
We've changed it since we looked at it last, I think.
Yeah. So we would end up, and it'll take a second here for your screen to refresh, but you should be coming up just about, and I'm watching it on Facebook to see and make sure. It's a little delay, but in the existing parking spots, there was 51 total existing, and we're going to have 45 after the completion, but we're adding 56 additional spaces are proposed. So, I guess the net there being 50 spaces additional. Okay. And could possibly be more. Just we haven't, again, a lot of that depends on our contrary. Once we get our topo, we'll fine tune this. As you know, we put this together rather quickly to get us on the docket and get you together with it. But I feel like we're going to be really close to the additional 50 additional places.
I have a question from Stephen here. How many other designs are going to be submitted before this is brought to the board for discussion approval? Stephen, answer that question. So we've got different options out of this one big proposal here. And I know Mr. Thompson and Mr. McClure have both worked very closely with Mr. Brannon, who's the expert in band hall and design and what's best for kids. And so I think we've got some pretty good ideas on the design with our existing facilities and what we may add. I think it's going to boil down, do we want all of it? Do we want certain options out of this? And that would come before the board pretty quickly, I would think, for their consideration. There's a process we would go through. You hire an architect, they go through the design, they serve as your construction manager at risk, and then you would they would entertain bids for the proposal for the work, and we would rank construction companies, and the board would make a decision on who to hire for the job to be done. So that's kind of a little bit of the process. It's a very quick version of it, but just wanted to give you some of those details. Craig asked a good question. Craig, we talked about that too. Will the new parking lot be large enough for the band to practice marching? Mr. Brandon, do you want to answer that a little bit and talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. It would. We'd be able to do a lot of work out there as far as fundamentals. And like I was speaking with Perry about, it would be great to have that. But our work exclusively, once we get into our big part of the season, is done on our football field. That turf has been the most incredible thing for our program. You know, I know it's there for everybody in athletics in our community, but it's really, really helped our band program because that's our classroom. So we would use it. But it's hard to have enough room on a parking lot. We would need to save from a 15-yard line down to a 15-yard line, which I don't think there's enough room in this area to do that, to actually work our show. But we would be able to use it for marching fundamentals, summer band practice. If we had a rain situation where we needed to go be right there and be able to come in very quickly, we could do that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. I see Tracy's comment about getting behind this and supporting it like the CTE program's been supported. We strive to be a very well-rounded district. And so I was talking to a good friend this afternoon. We were talking about our CTE program as we continue to help move that forward. The board had made a commitment this fiscal year. We've renovated our old maintenance building. That's about a $70,000 project. We've relocated and built a new maintenance building, which is up behind the transportation area, which was ballpark about $200,000. So, you know, almost $270,000, roughly close to $300,000 that was spent to get this, our current old maintenance building turned into a classroom space where we'll be offering HVAC to our kids. And so we continue to strive for greatness in those academic areas of CTE to offer more certifications for our kids, but also definitely want to be a very well-rounded program and help our kids here in the band program and fine arts as well. We think that makes a lot of sense. Any other questions, thoughts? I think the neat thing about this in this proposal, and even though it is a time of economic uncertainty, like I said, the boards have been very conservative with the fund balance, so $7.5 million there. And so a project like this could be completed with absolutely zero raising of taxes in the district. And so that's what a fund balance is there for. It's to get through tough times, but also to save for building projects when you see a need to help students. So any other questions, any other thoughts?
Mr.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. Go for it.
Yes, I see a question up here from Ms. Bedford about how the parking lot, the new area, would be utilized during the school day. Would you want to address that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. You know, elementary park, I mean, possibly there. I mean, we could visit with our high school as far as student part. I think there could be a variety of uses for that. I think we just need to really sit down and talk that through and come up with the best possible solution. I think it definitely helps big time though. You can't ever have enough parking, and we've seen that need for a while here. anything else before we go?
Cody, I would like to say we appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this. And it's been great getting to know you guys and
Absolutely.
learning.
Absolutely.
We
We appreciate it.
very impressed with, we've been very impressed with the board and the direction that you guys have taken. And obviously Chris has done more than anybody else I know of could have done. So he's really doing a great job. I'm impressed with the direction that you guys are taking and being proactive and moving forward. These are obviously times that are tough on everyone, but I think there's a lot to be said for looking out for the general public. Safety of the children is extremely important, and giving them the facilities to maintain social distancing as well. So that's something we haven't talked about at all, but those things are becoming present day issues that are going to become more relevant as time goes on.
Barry, thank you and Wes, and we certainly appreciate you guys coming out and helping us with giving us a visual. I think that's the big thing that people need to see exactly what's going on, what exactly is being proposed. So we hope this has been very transparent for the public to kind of get a good idea and see something instead of just reading about it on paper. I think this helps a lot. And so we certainly appreciate you, and we appreciate Sherrill Construction for coming out, walking the facilities with us, giving us feedback. And so very thankful for that. I'll make one closing statement just to remind. So in Skyward, our Skyward parent portal enrollment is available. It's open. And so you can go on and register your child for class. There's both a traditional route, there's a virtual route. I was looking at the numbers just a few minutes ago, and I believe we've had 319 students that have enrolled so far. And I believe we're sitting currently at 81% of the students choosing a traditional school setting and the 19% choosing a virtual. So we're providing both options. And so I thought that was pretty interesting looking at that data, but a whole bunch more students to enroll because we have almost a little over 1,600 students in our district. So don't forget about enrollment, and you can take care of that on the Skyward's parent portal and get that taken care of. So anything else before we go? Stephen, I see your question real quick. I'll answer this for you. How's security access going to be addressed with a new addition? So we've gone to badge access in all of our areas and continue to make upgrades around the district on that. Chief Castleberry has a very, very solid plan in place, and we are looking at expanding that every time. And I couldn't imagine a new build not having those extra security features already in place. We're going back now because the building is close to 50 years old, and we're going back and adding those things. But the new construction, I could almost definitely guarantee you that's already going to be in place. Well, thanks again for everybody joining us tonight, and I hope you have a good evening and a great weekend. Thank you, guys.